All right, everyone. So this one we're talking about hiring an inspector. And for the first couple deals, I don't want you to stress too much about hiring one because um, I really want you to focus on making sure that the property you're looking at is making money. And normally, the reason why I'm saying this is because your agent should be the one who kind of has an inspector in their back pocket who they trust and work with on a regular basis. And understanding that, like, hey, listen, this inspector's good. He looks at this, and that. And I think it's a really good decision, partially to go with the one that your agent normally recommends, partially because of the fact that like they kind of know what are things that get deals that are deal breakers. So that's one of the reasons why like I used the inspector that my first agent went with. Now eventually down the road, I did find my own inspector who I was more confident in using. So for the first couple deals, use the one that your agent. I would feel fine with use the one that your agent recommends. Later down the road, you'll see different inspection styles, and you'll eventually find your own. Now, the other thing is, I don't want you to worry about some things, and the thing that I don't want you to worry about are small defects. And the whole point of hiring an inspector, okay, is to look for catastrophic defects that will basically break the deal that are deal breakers. Okay. And the thing is that, like, I want you to realize that inspectors, there are limitations. They're not going to be able to find every single defect, partially because they can't rip open a wall. They can't dig up a tile or flooring to look at plumbing, right? We're just hoping that, with someone who has a keen eye on properties and real estate, that they'll be able to look for symptoms and signs of potential catastrophic defects. And the other thing I want you to realize too is that sometimes a lot of these inspectors will offer a termite service for an additional like $50. So let's say, hey, we're going to do a general inspection on the property, but if you would like, we can do a termite inspection for an additional $50. Now, it's up to you what you want to do in that case. Um, I think from a general inspection, normal they'll be able to find like, hey, listen, we do see some damage of termites. Maybe you should get a more thorough termite inspection. The reason why I don't really worry about adding an additional termite service is because at the end of the day, even after I close the deal and stuff, a part of my maintenance program and a part of my value of not being a slumlord is I'm going to hire a termite service anyway and probably pay for a 5 year service. So, which should cost around $500 to $600. So I'm like, I'm not gonna. I just if the general inspector finds a defect that could be caused by termites, he's gonna let you know, and it's gonna come up in the report, right? He's just saying that most of the time when they recommend termite inspections, like, hey, we have seen some termite trails. Would you like an inspection service? Kind of a situation. And for me, I don't unless like the termites have caused structural damage, which is going to come up in a general report anyway. I would never really add the termite service in addition to the general inspection. Um, and partially because of the fact that I'm going to hire a termite service anyway. So I would say two things. Don't worry about small defects, things that like a handyman could fix. Okay. We're looking for catastrophic defects, and the inspector will let you know what those are. Now, the other thing too is the fact that if they recommend hiring a termite service, probably ask why. Is there structural damage? If there isn't structural damage, then don't that doesn't come up with the general inspection, then don't worry about adding a termite fee on top of that. Last but not least, I think for me, as the over the years, I've noticed that having a HVAC technician that you personally know is probably a great value because it's going to come up in the Binzer no matter what. In Arizona, particularly, knowing an HVAC specialist or an AC unit technician is as important as water. It really hinders the quality of life if you don't have an AC unit that works. Now, for me, the moment I hire an inspector to do a general inspection, let's say, for instance, if I place an offer on a property and the seller accepts, the same day that I call the inspector to do the inspection, I'm gonna call the HVAC technician to inspect the AC unit. And and for instance, if we see that the technician discovers that the AC unit is over the spec age, then that's going to be huge negotiating potential. So, for instance, let's say a AC unit lifespan in Arizona is an average of 11 years, and then you find out that the current AC unit that's on the property you're looking at is 15 years old, you might want to negotiate having that replaced. So those are some things that you can work with, and that's why it's important to get the HVAC. So I recommend definitely knowing an HVAC technician to come and inspect the property. They'll come and inspect the HVAC unit probably anywhere between 60 to 90 bucks. And let's say, for instance, if they discover there's low freon and there's a couple other things that are have an issue, and they say, hey, listen, like the AC unit's old, but it works really well, but we recommend that you put $400 into it, whether it's or on average probably 300 bucks to fix a couple things, to clean some coils, to repair some of the fans or the condenser or something like that. Well, basically, hey, listen, Mr. Seller, we ask that you make these repairs before the close of escrow, and then we'll go from there. So that way, when you move into the property, the AC unit is humming along, kind of a thing. And now you have more information. You can bake that into your rent, or like, hey, listen, this unit needs to get replaced in the next couple of years. I need to make sure I save enough money to replace the unit. So, those are just some of the strategies I recommend to consider when you are hiring an inspector. So remember, when we place an offer, the moment that the seller accepts, we honestly want to order an inspector and an HVAC technician to go out there to look at the property to determine if there's any catastrophic defects that are going to really take a blow to the deal. So those are the things I personally recommend, and just wanted to do this to make sure that kind of take away some of the anxiety and stress of it all. And don't worry, you guys can do this, okay? And if you have any questions, please submit below, and we will go from there.